Hey guys, and welcome to video number 7, or sort of like a companion to video number 6. Today, my video is a little bit shorter, just because there's an extra process that I wanted to talk about with regards to live performance and working with stems, but I thought it would make more sense to just create a separate video as the last one was getting pretty long. But this is a really quick trick to apply sort of the two sets that I've been talking about. The first 4 videos I made were about improvised live performance, and this past video was about kind of the opposite, which is like the ultimate in preparation, having your stems together and being able to perform alongside them. So this one's a bit kind of like a hybrid of those two. And the reason I say that is my setup is exactly the same as my last one was. I have it set up so that I have 3 stems here: beat, instrumental, backing vocal. I have my pickup machine recording my vocal here. I have my vocal set up, muted and cued so that my cue out is where my vocal is coming out of. And I have a through machine for my OP1. And then I have a master for reverb and stuff like that, filters and whatnot. So what I'm talking about today is a separate pattern that I have set up. So if you look at this set of patterns I have 12 patterns, and these are all referring to tracks. But I also have this 16th pattern, and this one is set up to be entirely different with the use of parts. Now, the way that I have parts set up normally is that all of these are sharing one part, which means that they all have the same machines, all the same routings, all the same effects. Now, a good way to use parts, though, is to have something recording in the background that you can then refer back to. And I learned this trick by watching Dataline's tutorial video on the Octatrack, which you can purchase on his Bandcamp, and I will link that in the comments below, or in the video description, rather. Basically, what I have set up with pattern 16 is a set of flex machines in part 2. So when you go to pattern 16, you'll notice my flex machines have switched over to, or my static machines have switched over to flex machines. And the reason that is because on each of these patterns, I'm recording in the background. And I can do that because these tracks are hardwired to their respective record buffers. Track 2 will always record to track to buffer 2, track 3 to buffer 3, and so on. What that lets me do is I can set up an ongoing record trig. And I've talked about this technique in the past, but basically I have a single record trig at the first beat of every 4-bar loop, which means that as I'm performing, in the background, the stems are recording 4-bar loops of themselves. So this is, these are one-shot trigs, so it's just going to keep going. But say I want this loop that I'm hearing right now to play indefinitely. I switch to bar 16, or pattern 16. And now, oops. Hold on. Right. So now I have 4-bar loops that have been recorded to buffers 2 through 4, because part 2 is referring to those record buffers. And now, from that point, I can, play with the triggering of it. Not only that, I can stop it, I can play it again. It's not a one-shot trig, so I can just do that. I can reverse it. And from that point, I could basically do a lot of the things that I've been talking about in previous videos. I can create loops, I can mess with all these different effects, and just basically play around with a track that is originally set in stone. And the original track will be left intact. The only issue with this is once you go to pattern 16, if you return to your original pattern, you're going to start from the beginning. So you kind of have to make plans for that. Either create a separate pattern. Basically, you're going to have to plan out if you want to vamp in the middle of your song where you create a solo and you play indefinitely, then you're going to want your next pattern to be picking up from that point, or you're going to want an outro from that section. Otherwise, it's just a really great way to have fun with what you've already made. So that's my sort of short video tutorial on that particular technique. And that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about today. But stay tuned. I'll have another video next week. Thanks, guys.